Are you someone that tries extremely hard to make other people happy? Even go to the extent of lying? I know I have. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Samantha Morin, and I discuss my journey and what it takes to live in a beautiful, positive state all the time and eliminate negativity from my life. So, if you're ready to stop overthinking and step into emotional freedom, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into today's video because today's video is a very special topic, near and dear to my heart, and it is how to stop people pleasing. I have been a chronic people pleaser for most of my life, and I hate to admit it, but I still struggle with this a lot. It got so bad at one point that I didn't even know who I was. This was because I would silence my voice and my thoughts. I would attempt to know what other people wanted me to say or how they wanted me to act, and I would do that. I would never reflect inward thinking, how do I actually feel? How do I want to respond to this situation? And oftentimes I would lie about how I truly felt just so I could feel more connected with that other person or avoid conflicts. And it really caused me a lot of anxiety, losing my identity, confusion, especially of my relationship with others, or it could even lead to anger in some points, because if you tell someone something when you're with them and then you act a different way, there's no congruency, there's no personal congruency to what you're saying or how you're acting with that person. And it also caused me a lot of self-doubt and lack of confidence, because when I was alone, I didn't know who I was, and when I was with other people, it was never the same person. So this leads me to a little bit of a story time when I really saw my people-pleasing tendencies catch up to me. It was my freshman year of college, and I really embarrassed myself on this one, guys, and I hope you don't have to deal with the same situation, and this video can bring you some clarity on how to change those people-pleasing habits and tendencies, because that's the goal for today. I'm going to be sharing a framework of how I'm currently changing my people-pleasing tendencies and being more authentic to myself. So, in college, freshman year, I didn't have a roommate for a few months because my original roommate moved out. College wasn't for her. So imagine, freshman year, you have a room all to yourself. That's like the golden opportunity. And it was a great time. And then one random day, I get a note under my door, and it says, "Hi, I'm Amy." We'll protect her name for privacy purposes, but it said, "Hi, I'm Amy. Add me on Snapchat. I'm going to be your new roommate. I'm moving in tomorrow." And I think that was what I was most anxious about in college, was getting a roommate, having a roommate, like the conflict with the roommate, compromising with the roommate, all these things that you have to do when you live with somebody. You have to speak up. They have to know the real you. You're living like literally right next to each other in the same room. So Amy moved in, and at first it was fine because I had a boyfriend that lived like 3 doors down from me, so I would just spend a lot of time there. I would avoid the situation. But oftentimes I would come back to the room, and one thing that really got me mad was she would have people sitting on my bed, like people's butts on my pillow where I would put my head. I wouldn't say anything. I would say nothing. Or I would have food, and in college, food is very scarce, okay? Especially food from home or snacks, and she would eat my food without asking. I never ever said anything to her. I would always talk to my boyfriend and tell him how it really was. To her, I'm like, "Oh, we're great roommates, yada yada." People pleasing, okay? People pleasing, trying to avoid the conflict. And then, fast forward, the last day of school came, we all moved out, it was great, I made it through, my people pleasing had worked. And then next year, the following year, sophomore year, it was some weird situation where Ryan, my boyfriend, and I were hanging out with Amy, and Amy made a comment like, "Oh, Sam, remember how like great of a roommate I was? Like we were so great together." And before I could even open my mouth to please that comment, Ryan said, "You weren't a good roommate. Sam did not like living with you." Mortified. But it's true. I didn't. And I should have said stuff in the moment. Okay? So in the moment, you might think like your people pleasing is helping the situation or making you feel closer to someone or avoiding that conflict. But down the line, it either catches up to you or you just have this built up resentment towards yourself or the situation. So let's go into how to actually overcome people pleasing. And this is what I have learned. This is my own framework. And it honestly started, I would love to say it started because of that event, but it did not start because of that event. Even after that, I was people pleasing and I didn't know how to stop. What really hit me in the face was when I read this book called Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima. And if you haven't read it, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. She talks a lot about worth and your self-worth, and she talks about people pleasing. And she says in the book that people pleasing doesn't actually make people like you anymore. Because if you're people pleasing, then that person doesn't actually know you. Boom. Crazy. Because I had spent all this time people pleasing to get closer to people, to avoid conflicts, to, fit in. And in reality, all of these people never actually knew the real me. I didn't even know the real me. So you can't be closer to somebody when you are people pleasing. And it might be hard to use your voice. I've been there. It might feel uncomfortable. Been there. But when you do, you're actually showing your real person. You're showing your real worth. And if that person is like, oh, you're offending me, or I don't like what you're saying, or I'm not in alignment with that, goodbye. We don't need you, okay? We don't need people like that in your life, because then it's a spiral. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you just keep having to people pleasing, and become a person that you're not proud of or you don't even know. Like I said in the beginning, I became a myth. I didn't have an identity to fall back on. I didn't know who I was because I was different with everyone. So that book changed my life. It really hit me, and I was like, okay, you know what? This is enough. People pleasing isn't even getting me the end result that I thought it was getting me. So what's the framework? Let's get into it. Number 1, this is super important. Be responsive, not reactive. What that means is if you feel the urge, it's usually like this anxiety, tingling feeling inside when someone says something and it kind of feels like you don't want to agree with it, but you can almost vomit out like, yeah, I agree, or whatever they want to hear. That's reactive. Do not be reactive. Do not react on the first instinct of, oh, I'm going to tell them what they want to hear, or yes, manning them. No, you need to take a deep breath. That's what I do. I take a deep breath. And then I say what needs to be said. And I just let it go. Let it go out into the universe, and whatever is. And honestly, I found that when I am responsive, it's not as detrimental as I had always thought. There usually isn't much conflict, and people aren't hurt by your honesty or when you're truthful with them. People appreciate it. So be responsive. Say what you mean what you say. Do not be reactive and just say the first thing that comes to mind or what they want to hear. And this is something I work on from moment to moment too. So the next one would be to build self-awareness. That's number 2, self-awareness. So you need to identify situations and with people in which you people please. And you might be like, how do I do that? Well, you know when it happens. You don't feel great about the situation, or you come out of a social event or interacting with someone and your energy feels kind of lesser. You feel less than, or you're running through your mind thinking about what happened, what you said. That's self-awareness, okay? Just identify those situations. Like, oh, one for me that was really big is when I go to family events and people will ask, oh, how's your job? How's life? And I immediately just spit out like, it's going great. I'm doing great. Everything's fine. Like, amazing. And I just tell them what they want to hear. I've had so much self-awareness to family events and being around family in general because I know that's a trigger for me. So find awareness in your triggers and when you feel the urge to people please. And then this one is kind of big, but if you can, eliminate or at least distance yourself from those people and the situations, because you don't want to always find yourself being around people where you can't fully express yourself. And like I said, and like Jamie Kern-Lima said in her book, you're not actually close to these people if you are just saying what they want to hear or doing what they want you to do. So find people where it's easy for you to be authentic, where you want to express yourself fully, not where you're wearing a mask or hiding yourself. If you feel like that, especially like I just said around family or something, the best thing is to just distance yourself, to try to separate yourself and just spend that time alone. And just a huge disclaimer here, I'm not saying any of this stuff is easy. It's not easy, okay? But it is worth it. It's not easy and it's worth it, because who are you going to be? Are you going to be a myth? Are you going to let your identity change from person to person? Because that is exhausting. And you never feel fulfilled. You never connect with someone fully. And it's just sad, because how are you going to have intimate relationships? How are you going to have your own family? Would you want your kids to people please all the time and wear a mask and not be their true selves? I wouldn't. So that's just, that one is hard. That is hard. Eliminating or distancing yourself from people that you feel you must be a certain way or please, but it's necessary to this process. The next step, number 4, would be journaling. This is huge, okay? And for me, I will just journal away, just type as fast as my fingers will go about nothing. Sometimes I don't even know what to journal about, and I'll just start the journal. I am journaling. Here's what I'm thinking right now. Here's what I was thinking earlier. And what this really does is it helps you connect with the deeper version of yourself, with your thoughts, with your feelings, without there being any pressure to say the right thing or do the right thing. So it really creates clarity on who you are and who you want to be. Journaling is huge. It has really, really helped me in finding who I am, because in social situations, it's kind of hard to navigate on the spot. But when you're journaling, like I said, there's no pressure. So you can say or do whatever you want. No one's going to read it. And you're going to be like, oh, wow, that's really how I feel. Or, oh, wow, I do really like that thing. Or that's what I'm thinking all the time. Or that's who I want to be. So that's a big one. And then most importantly, the last rule. This is the most important one. Give yourself grace. Like I mentioned, this is an uncomfortable framework to use. It's uncomfortable from going from people pleasing to not people pleasing, and it takes time. It takes a lot of time. And it takes literally moment for moment for moment. There's not just one moment where you break it, you set your boundaries, you say no, and you're done people pleasing forever. I wish it was that easy, but like I said, I'm still going through this too. I'm still using this framework, and I'm still doing my best to be authentic and show up in every single moment. So give yourself grace. If you find yourself people pleasing or an old habit comes up, acknowledge it and just act different next time. Don't beat yourself up. This was something that I did early on. I would beat myself up or say, oh, I'm never gonna stop people pleasing. I identified with the people pleasing, and that is dangerous. When you say I am something, especially I am a people pleaser, that's how you show up. And if you're trying to change that, then you need to change the language. I was a people pleaser. I am getting over being a people pleaser. So give yourself time. It all will come together. And I'm saying this for myself too, but it's definitely gotten better. So just to recap this framework, you want to be responsive, not reactive. You do not want to just be impulsive with your responses and tell people what they want to hear. You want to take a deep breath, slow down, and say what you mean to say. This one is difficult because you might feel it's a little awkward to pause during a conversation or to take your time in responding, but I've found that no one can even tell when you're taking a deep breath or a moment for yourself. And when you are responsive, people really do appreciate that. Number 2 is to have self-awareness towards those triggers. You really want to know when you're in an environment or when you're around people, what is triggering you to be people-pleasing? Where does this happen? Where is it most likely to occur? Then you want to eliminate or distance yourself, at least, from these people and situations. You want to minimize the amount of time you are around your triggers. Next, you want to journal. Journaling has been huge for me and extremely helpful. Journal about anything. The point of journaling is to gain clarity on your thoughts and emotions that are uniquely yours. There is no pressure in journaling to please anyone or say the right things or do the right things. You don't even have to use the correct grammar or sentences. It doesn't matter. It's so freeing. And then you want to show compassion for yourself. Do not beat yourself up. This goes for anything in life, but especially with people pleasing. This whole transition from being a people pleaser to not being a people pleaser is uncomfortable, okay? Not because there's a lot of conflict, but because it's not what you're used to. It's not how you are used to showing up. Being your authentic self can be scary. Taking the mask off can feel a little bit intimidating. That's why having compassion for yourself, being your own biggest supporter, saying, you know what, I people pleased in this scenario, didn't feel great about it, but next time I got it. I'm learning every day, I'm getting better every day. And just really knowing that anyone can change. And if I can change from being a people pleaser, the number one people pleaser right here, you can too. And I hope this framework really helps you, because there's this really famous quote that says, when you stand for everything, you stand for nothing. And I want to see you guys thriving. I want to see who you are uniquely, authentically. I want to know who I am uniquely and authentically. And the only way to do that is to show up as your true self. So I hope this helps. I'll see you guys in the next one.